Robert.
Hello.
How are you, Robert?
Very, very well.
It's actually been some years since we talked, hasn't it?
Yes, it appears to have been a lot longer than I thought.
Yes, well, let's say it's about 7 or 8 years ago.
I think it's your beaming smile makes me think that time has no meaning at all. Especially this time of the morning.
As a matter of fact, I remember asking you about some of your earlier experiences and some of the people who impressed you, and I think from memory that you were quite a fan at one stage of Doris Day, is that right?
Doris Day?
Yes, I think you said Doris Day.
Well, I think she was very perky.
Yeah.
Had a lot of time for people with bounce.
With what?
Bounce.
With bounce. When you think back about it all now, what are some of the real experiences, some of the early experiences, and some of the people who profoundly impressed their talent upon you?
I don't know. On a visual level, I wasn't particularly taking great note of the more visual side of it all. It was really the vocal aspects of the Ray Charleses and the Stevie Winwoods, and I don't know, anybody who went out on a limb and made a sound or a noise. It really made obviously the whole thing about music is to be either excited or to be lulled into a coma. So it's either Leonard Cohen or it's I don't know, Bobby Womack singing with the Valentinos.
Yeah.
So to me it was anything that would rise out of the radio set and grab you and dictate the next few minutes of your time.
Did you ever consciously at any particular stage project in a fashion that you'd heard from somebody else? I mean, did any turn of phrase ever impress you or influence you?
Yeah, well, I suppose I've said baby, baby, baby more times than most people. There's a lot of it about.
But you've said it in a rather loud fashion too, haven't you? A more forceful fashion, perhaps.
I think vocal style. When I was a kid, I was obviously the music that was inundating the airwaves at the time was the English sort of mid-60s, early 60s rock, which was very nice, but behind all that there came, I don't know, all the very early Tamla Motown stuff, and the Ray Charleses and all those sort of people, and that was the sort of music that grabbed me and lifted me up by the back of my pants and plonked me in another alleyway altogether, you know. Oh, it did to a lot of people. I mean, the Beatles did loads of them, sort of Marvelettes, Mary Wells type material.
When did you really know, I mean, for absolute certain that you wanted to be a rock singer, as apart from any other kind of singer?
Well, I didn't really know I wanted to be a rock singer. I wanted to sing, I wanted to try and extend that kind of music that I liked and see if I could emulate those characters, you know. Especially the Ray Charleses, they're sort of the black voice. I'll be about 14, 15 years old at school, and I wanted to sing, remember that song Money, the best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I mean, that kind of line was great. I didn't need the money. I mean, I probably did, because I borrowed lots and lots at half a crown a go.
Did you ever find yourself in terrible debt at any stage?
I still am. Everybody who meets me on the street today, come on, what about that 5 bob you borrowed off me in 1964? But I was telling lyrics, sort of cheeky, the black lyrics that were taking a chance, taking a risk against all the sort of sweet, alternative, you know, lovey-dovey stuff that was around. It was great to stand up and sing things that were, I mean, there's nothing to it now, but at the time it was great to sing those sort of things, you know. Did
you have a sort of a streak of rebellion going through you, do you think? Yourself personally?
Yeah, most definitely. Everything was very comfortable for me. Well, every parent tries to make it as comfortable as they can for kids, you know, but that doesn't often help the situation. In fact, it makes you even more emphatic in your attempts to check it out on the wild side, if you like. I mean, it sounds really silly now, but it's true. So you sort of change horses about once a week.
Did you ever consciously feel that unless you could sing about rebellion, that you weren't interested in singing at all?
No, not particularly. I didn't particularly want to sing about. I just wanted to sing things that were impressive, A, vocally, and B, for their instantaneous effect. You know, I mean, there's a lot to be said for the songs that were close to what would be called the line in those days. A lot of the black music, the blues stuff, all that sort of hoochie coochie man and that sort of thing.
What were some of those songs that were close to you at that particular stage of your life, Robert?
I think there was a lot of it. Last night I went to see Bo Diddley, who a lot of people have written off as being a sort of legend from the 50s, full stop. But I mean, the stuff that was coming out around the time I first started listening to music on the Chess label, the Muddy Waters stuff. I mean, it had been out for ages, but it suddenly gained momentum, the blues boom in the 60s, and suddenly gone bang. And I guess it was Howlin' Wolf, Sonny Boy Williamson, and the lyrics were very basic, very down to earth, no bullshit, just right on the line there. And really, I mean, it was very matter of fact. It was just that we don't, or we didn't at the time, write stuff like that. We didn't say things like that, and it was very refreshing to hear people just go straight to the point.
And now it's done en masse, isn't it, in the 1980s too?
Yes, it's done to the degree that it's absurd at times, but it isn't done with that kind of, I don't know, simple, what can you say?
Perhaps it's
innocence.
Yes, it's not done with innocence, nor is it done with simplicity.
It's done now just for the sake of saying, oh well, I want to say this and I'm going to say it as coarsely or as sort of unethically, poetically as possible.
Yes, and quite often for effect more than anything else.
More than likely, yeah.
When you think back to forming your first band, do you laugh about it now, or do you think they were good times?
Oh, excellent times. Yeah.
In what way were they excellent?
Well, I think probably that one never actually knows, although we sit here now in this sort of environment. You never actually know how far you can take anything. You start off and you go, I've got the bravado and the pluck, or whatever it takes to get out there and do something. But what it is and how far I can take it, I have no idea at all. So initially, the first role I ever played in this sort of artist versus the world sketch, seemed to have no end, I was playing the washboard in a blues band. I mean, it was the sort of the climb of the white blues boy, sort of with thimbles on the fingers and playing Got My Mojo Working. And moving through, but the whole excitement of going, gosh, I can actually chat in tune or in time, and then moving along from there.
Did you consciously have ambitions to be a singer, or was it the nucleus of people around you who said that you should be a singer?
No, they all advised me I ought to forget it.
What did they say?
The nucleus of people around were all quite into this sort of the blues idiom, if you like. So it was just very intoxicating. It was a sort of black country boy desires to sing the blues, looking for a band. But it was all very sort of amateurish at the folk clubs and on the jazz night on a Friday night at the local pub.
When you think of the peaks that you've reached at this particular stage of your life in relation to those old days at the clubs, I mean, would you ever swap them now? I mean, would you want to go back?
I'd like a one night on, one night off basis if I could. In fact, I seem to have achieved to a degree that with I became a part of a pickup band called the Honey Drippers not long ago, which was, we played all around the clubs in the north of England. A 7-piece band, 2 saxes, 2 guitars, bass, drums, 3 voices. And it was very similar except for the fact that obviously I had a name, a reputation. So what we did was we billed the band as being called the Honey Drippers. No advertising beyond club members, no admission except for club members, no mention of my name, and it was back to virtually where I started, except for the equipment was a bit better and the musical proficiency was far improved from those hazy days of 5 strings on a 6-string guitar.
Do you think that in the 1982s we may have advanced too far technically? Do you think it may have all become too perfect?
No, not at all. Because everything comes and goes, and I think that whatever you like and whatever you care to draw from any form of music, it can only add to the general effect that music has on people overall. So electronic music is very stimulating, it's very interesting. Bands like Japan are very moody, just as Zeppelin was moody in its way. I mean, there's no comparison in some respects, but in other respects, it's good they're out there and they're doing something that's impressive.
Robert,
and I don't think it's going, it's definitely not going up its own backside. There's room for everything.
I mean, when we had the wave of punk and new wave, I think there was a kind of desperation there, wasn't there, to get back to basics in rock and roll music?
Yeah, to get rid of the dinosaur, to remove the effigy of the big, massive, unattainable hero.
Do you think it was ever a mistake to have the dinosaurs of the record industry, of the music business?
Well, there was nobody knew that they were going to be there because people created them. It was a situation that was being created without anybody really knowing it. And in fact, underneath it all, these dinosaurs, of which I was proudly supposed to be one, or which I may even be one, still, I don't know, I don't feel like one, had no real part in it either. I mean, it was just as easy for, say, Jimmy to get up and play in Sussex, near where he lived, at a similar sort of venue to the ones that we'd started at. I mean, everything was attainable and unattainable, depended on the environment. You went from Nebula to the village pub backwards and forwards. You know, I mean, it's 1 minute it's there and the next minute it's gone. You know, this sort of effigy.
Did you ever feel a tremendous sense of responsibility as the lead singer of Led Zeppelin to a public, to an audience?
No. I suppose it would be callous to say no, but I don't think so. My responsibility really was to the rest of the band, to try and make sure that I was as good as they expected me to be. Bonzo was great because he used to know my limitations, and he used to say, he said, never mind, he said, Robert, the best thing you can do is just go out there and look good.
Robert, when Bonzo talked about your limitations, he was saying as a singer, yeah? I mean, did he ever elaborate on what he thought your limitations were?
Well, he just thought that I got away with murder.
In what way?
I haven't got a clue. We used to have that kind of rapport where I used to tell him he couldn't play the drums and that there was bound to be somebody else standing by to take over, and he used to say, well, he said, you know Frankie Vaughan, but do your best. It's just fun and games. The only way to take yourself seriously, really, is to laugh at yourself.
When Bonzo passed away, how did it affect you personally? Did it affect your desires to continue as an artist in rock music?
Well, he was a very, 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 very close friend, and we'd been together since we were about 15, playing and sparring. It was a dual setup. We were, in the days before we made it, we used to play at the Speakeasy and in the Band of Joy. And he would insist that his drums were right on the front of the stage, so I couldn't stand in front of him. So if anybody was going to notice us and bring us to fame and fortune, he got as much of a chance as me. So we were very competitively close, so it broke me into little bits, really. And I didn't really have... My affinity with him was probably closer because we were both from the same neck of the woods. We'd gone through all the sort of the struggles together, and in fact we continued to struggle together. So really I didn't have a great deal of, after he'd gone, I didn't really have a great deal of incentive to carry on at all.
Can I ask you how Jimmy and John Paul Jones felt about the whole episode?
Identical in the same way as me, totally. The only difference would be probably that that he and I were probably closer on a home situation, on a history situation together. But I mean, we were all very, very close on the road, so it was just one of those things where he said, right, that's it. If it happened to anybody else, Jonesy or Jimmy or myself, that would be it anyway.
Robert, of course, there was a period of rather long speculation because all of a sudden there was no Led Zeppelin. And I had several letters, lots of letters, massive correspondence, as a matter of fact, saying what is happening to Led Zeppelin, and are they going to find a new drummer, are they going to reform, or... you were kind of in a wilderness, weren't you? I mean, what were your thoughts at that time?
Well, they were emphatically, just forget it. I mean, it was unanimous. It was not even unanimous. It was there was nothing to say, really. It was just, that's it. I mean, we're in June 1982 now, and last night we went into a clothes shop and there was a Zeppelin track playing, and I said to the guy, who's that? And he said, oh, it's Led Zeppelin. I said, oh yeah. I said, what's happened to them now? He said, oh. He said, they're carrying on. I said, are they? He said, yeah. He said, Bonham's son's going to drum with them now. I mean, it's such piffle. I said, I don't think that's true. I said, from a close source, I don't think that's particularly true. He said, you wait. And he didn't know me from Adam or anything. And it's this kind of, it was all that kind of speculation, all that sort of tittle-tattle, riff-raff stuff. I mean, when things are great, they're great. And when they are no more, there is no more than that. You know.
And so you had to consciously make a very important decision in your life as to what you do, as to whether you'd stop singing, stop performing.
Yeah, well, as I said, I went through kind of obviously thought, and to be quite honest, through thick and thin, you do grow that close to people that, and you do get a certain amount of confidence from working with the same old team. That is, it doesn't have any comparison in a way. The only comparison it has is, and I didn't know that until now, is actually turning around and saying, that was that, now what? And then finding that there's a totally different stimulation by actually going out there and fishing around in that big wide world that you've kind of been, you haven't avoided, but you've been away from.
Did you go and hear bands, Robert? I mean, did you feel like jumping up on stage and gigging with somebody?
All the time, yeah.
Did you actually do it?
Yeah, as often as I could, as often as the music sort of fitted, or I could sing along with the band.
Particularly,
I guess that particularly anybody and everybody, anybody who made me smile or made me sort of stand up and look. I mean, I don't think that I'm the ultimate ligger yet, but I must admit, if I get excited, mind you, it's a big sketch for me to get up on the stage in a pub. I mean, I don't mind. I got so used to 20,000 people and more and more and more. That was okay.
And 100,000 and more and more, yeah.
That wasn't okay. That was a bit hair-raising. But so to get up in a pub is another thing. But the stimulation of actually going out and bracing yourself and putting your back to the wall and trying it with fresh folk was quite amazing. It was like, I didn't really know where I stood at all, because I suppose you become an effigy of something that's been there for years, and you don't know how people are going to react to you or anything, because you're right in the middle of your own sketch. You know, this is my flashback, this is my dream.
And then I assume that with wanting to get up and gig, having this incredible urge to do it again, you are obviously rethinking about getting a kind of ensemble around again?
Yeah, this is where the Honey Drippers began, really. I mean, it isn't, that Honey Drippers band is never going to finish. I mean, there are two situations. There's the Pictures at 11, the album, and the continuity on that level where the music is in a kind of familiar vein, with its intensity and its highs and lows and its, well, you know what we're talking about.
Yes,
and then there's the Honey Dripper side of it, which is like pubs, small clubs, and rhythm and blues, sweat, looking into the eyes of the audience, and they're only 2 feet away from you.
But it's tremendously exciting to do all this sort of thing again, isn't it?
Well, it's great to be allowed to do it, really, because playing those small clubs is fantastic, and so many people I meet who are in a similar position to myself are always moaning about, I wish I could do this again, and I wish I could get back to the clubs and all that sort of thing. And whatever level you're on, you can do it. All you've got to do is take the time to figure out how you're going to go about it.
It's a matter of actually doing it and not dreaming about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of waffle goes on. There's a lot of people who say, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do that, and they don't even contemplate the first step.
How did you go about actually forming the new band? I mean, what did you consciously do? Did you ring people up? Did you meet them socially and say, hey, what about?
I was nothing as sort of preordained as that, really. The guitarist Robbie Blunt had been playing in the Honey Drippers in this sort of blues thing. We were doing Albert King numbers, Otis Rush, Bobby Darin, Queen of the Hop and all that sort of thing. It was great, you know. And he'd been with several bands in a more contemporary field.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a relief to get back to the sort of bash. But after a month or so on the road, we on this sort of 12-bar idiom and Bradford University, etc., and never really knowing how it's going, we both decided that perhaps there was more there than underneath the surface that we could actually write ourselves. So we sat down and started doing that on a very casual basis because we lived close to each other. Nothing expected, nothing hoped for. And those are the best circumstances to start anything, really.
And in finally getting this new band together, how did it come about? I mean,
Well, after Robbie and
Cozy Powell and
after Robbie and I had started the basis of the majority of the songs on the album, we met the keyboard player Jez, who was busy selling synthesizers and whatnot. Had his affair with big bands, had been in a mega group who will always remain nameless because they were dreadful. And he also played in the wings so that nobody knew the band had a keyboard player. There's a lot of it goes on, you know.
yeah.
And he decided that he didn't really have the time for humans anymore. He was far more happy at home with sequences and all these sort of, and the new electronic music. And I think he must have believed that perhaps there were one or two musicians who weren't quite that bad. I mean, his affair with rock and roll had been a pretty stormy one. He'd worked with some of the biggest loonies that you could wish for. And so we said, well, come and play with us and see how you feel. You know, see if it's comfortable. If it's not comfortable, if you feel a little bit sort of out of place or whatever it is, go away again. So he came down with all these masses of equipment and played Errol Garner all night long. And I said, no, stop. But anyway, so he came along and he was, his rigidity sort of on display keyboard man thing vanished slowly but surely until he sort of became quite a character. The drummer situation was always going to be, or always will be, because this is there are one or two points or posts in this little outfit that aren't permanent yet.
No. But it's quite amazing because in the initial lineup of a new band, you have both Phil Collins and Cozy Powell. I mean, two supreme drummers.
Yeah, by the grace of God, and thanks be to them, because I didn't. Going back to that being comfortable and being a part of a big family for years and years, I didn't know where to start. And Cozy was an old pal. He's an old tart as well, but he's an old pal. I thought, well, who do I know who I'm going to be comfortable with? Because I didn't really know how to start approaching anybody. So I called him up. Yes, Squire, great idea. I've just got to finish snorkeling or whatever he was doing and I'll be right with you. So he came down. And when he arrived down in Rockfield, the numbers were coming along quite nicely, but it was all very measured and very, very laid back and very sort of, it was lacking the drummer. And he came along and he walked through the door and he sort of got on the kit and it's sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, and crash. And he sort of suddenly brought the whole thing to life. It was like, oh, good morning. Of course, this is the other way of doing it. And he really sort of injected it with, the adrenaline suddenly started flowing, like to the power of 3.
Were you ever at all worried about the sound of your new band being aligned to that of the sound of Led Zeppelin at all?
Worried? I don't think worried, no. In fact, I don't think that is the case. I was obviously conscious of the fact that I was now without my pals. So I had to be emphatic musically that it was that way. That this was basically myself and some new pals, new friends in new pools, if you like. So I made a distinct effort right the way through to try and think in another idiom. But I mean, I have always given whatever there's been to give to songs in the past. I've put my bit in, my shilling's worth or wherever it was, and that's exactly what I've done on this. And I mean, if there's any similarity between the two, it would be because of my contribution to both efforts, really. I mean, I don't think any of the musicians play comparatively to anything I've done before. I mean, the styles are totally different. But the mood occasionally has a similarity, but that is from my own, I suppose that's like me coming through it.
Have you had to think differently in terms of voice projection with these new songs? I mean, or are you trying to maintain what is rock plant vocally?
I'm not trying to do anything at all. I'm not thinking about it. I'm just writing the song, writing the lyrics around chords and writing melodies. I mean, I'm concerned with melody.
Now, Robert, this new band of yours on your new album, Pictures at 11, I see that your lineup is Robbie Blunt, Paul Martinez, Jeff Woodruff.
Jez Woodruff.
Jez Woodruff, I'm sorry about that, just Cozy Powell and Phil Collins. Now, is this going to be a working band? Is this a band that's going to go out on stage, on tour?
I think the nucleus will be certainly around for a while. I guess that Phil has his commitments and he has a very, very successful thing going, and he's quite at home where he is. Cozy also is in the same kind of situation, although he's floating a little bit more. So there'll be one or two people yet to come along.
Getting down to the songs on this album, I see that they've been written by yourself and